When it comes to starting an online business, content is the lifeblood of that online business because it drives in sales, it drives in traffic, it drives in income for your business and helps grow your business on a regular basis. But the question is, what platform should you be building your entire online business on? Should you be building it on a blog or should you be building it on a YouTube channel? And there are really some different conflicting views to each one, but the question is, which one should you be starting it on? Hi, it's Chris here from Side Hustle Academy, where it's all about helping you start, run, and grow your own side business. And you can find all the links to this video in the description below. So if you're someone who is looking to start a blog or a YouTube channel and you're a little bit conflicted on which one to start, in this video, I'm going to be covering the pros and cons of each. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share which platform I prefer and which one would be the best for you to get started with. To start, YouTube has a lot of pros when it comes to getting on this platform. To start, it lets you build a higher engagement with your audience versus using a blog. And one of the great things about this is that when you're creating a video just like this one, you can see, people can see you, they can look into your eyes and they can talk to you, feel like they're listening to a friend or somebody who is. Whereas a blog, it's just a bunch of text on a website and you really don't get that feel and effect from it when you're creating a blog. On top of that, it allows you to physically show off different things. Like if you're doing a product review, you could have the product in front of people and you could show them the product physically right in front of them and describe it. Even if you're doing some kind of digital product, you can do a screencast and show them the product right in front of them and describe it and talk about its pros and cons and things like that. Whereas a blog, you can write about the pros and cons, but in a less effective, engaged way that a blog does. On top of that, you just get a higher engagement from your audience when it comes to YouTube. YouTube just allows you to create a higher engagement by physically being in front of them, whereas a blog, you just don't get that. And finally, the best part about YouTube is that it is completely free. That's right, free. You don't have to buy any hosting space. You don't have to have any kind of domain name or anything like that. You can just create videos and start uploading them to YouTube today for completely free. Now, as good as the YouTube platform is, there are some downsides you may want to consider as you're getting started on YouTube. First being is that you don't own the platform, meaning that you don't have any control over it, and basically that YouTube could shut your entire channel down at any point in time that they would decide or want to. So that could happen. So for example, if they don't like your channel, they could pretty much shut it down tomorrow and that's it. You lose everything. Now, there are some things you can do to combat this, such as getting basically copies of your videos so you can post them on other platforms like Vimeo or Rumble. But then on top of that, you could also do things like build an email list as well. But in the end, you will lose the traffic that YouTube does provide to your videos in the end, to your website and to your business. So on top of that, you'll have limited control to the visual assets as well to your website. Now you can put up a banner, you can put up thumbnails on your videos, and you can also control the logo of your videos as well for your channel. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the visual part of it. You can't really rearrange anything around or move anything or anything like that. So there are some limitations to that as well. Also, you're going to be bound to the YouTube algorithm, and that basically holds you to whatever they decide and where they want to show your videos at any point in time. So for example, let's say you're trying to be found for a specific search term in YouTube and all of a sudden they're not showing it. They may decide not to put it there, or maybe they feel like it doesn't fit there very well and they don't put it up for your channel. So, and that can be a little bit disheartening, but you also have to understand that the algorithm is designed to push the best content to the top. And if your content, well, is not the best, at least for that particular category, they may not show it. So understanding that the algorithm is something you're going to have to work with as you're building your channel, not trying to push from it, but actually create a solid channel. Finally, you also have to understand that it is a process when it comes to doing YouTube, and that you have to learn a lot of soft skills that are going to be very important on how to grow and build your business. So for example, just learning things on how to be on camera, how to do the visual aspects and setting up all of your gear, and also learning how to put the entire process together so that you can actually create quality videos and things like that. That all takes a lot of time to learn. So make sure you do take the time to to actually go through that process and learn it. Don't discount that process. It is important as you're growing your channel. Just learn the basic things that you need to learn and keep creating content on a regular basis. But do know that your first videos are not going to always probably be your most successful ones, and you'll do just fine. All right, now that we've covered the pros and cons of YouTube, we're going to start looking at blogging. And blogging actually has one huge advantage when you're getting started, and that is that you actually own the platform when it comes to blogging. And the great thing about this is you actually own the hosting, you own the domain name, and everything that goes into that. So you have a basic ownership of the actual website. And on top of that, you actually have control of all the visuals that come along with having a blog as well. So that way you want to have certain visual elements in your website, or you want to basically add in certain functionality to your website, you have control to move those things around. Or maybe you want to add in an email list and start collecting emails. You can't exactly do that with YouTube. You have to just provide a link and send them to a different location to subscribe to an email list. So this allows you to have more control over your entire business versus just having a YouTube channel and only hoping that maybe YouTube won't shut you down or anything like that. Then on top of that, you also get a lot of search traffic from Google by setting up a blog. And what's great about this search traffic is that it can drive in a ton of people to your website on a regular basis. Even after you stop creating content, the traffic can still keep coming in and building up your business. Whereas with a YouTube channel, this doesn't work quite like that because they have other functionality that drives in people to your videos and things like that. Whereas a blog does do that. You can basically get traffic over and over and over again because you are basically setting up something that people will be able to find on Google for a long period of time. But finally, the best part about this is that with blogs, you can have a very passive business overall. In fact, what's great about this is you can set up things like advertising and affiliate programs, and they can generate incomes for a long period of time. I know when I very first got started a few years into creating my very first blog, I actually was making over $1,000 a month just passively every single month without having to do anything else, without having to create any more content. I was making $1,000 a month just doing that. And it was kind of a neat process what that was. And on top of that, it also just made me feel like, hey, I don't have to work so hard to get all of this done. Where YouTube, you're going to have to put in a consistent effort with your business in order to see the results over and over. Now, as great as the positives are when it comes to blogging, there are still some disadvantages to blogging that you need to know about. And the very first thing I want to mention here is that it can be really hard to get people to engage with a blog. A blog just is a hard place to get people to engage because there's no person or feeling of any person behind the blog. I mean, you might have a picture, which is one thing I do put on my blog, is that I have a picture of me just to kind of give people a little bit of thought of who I am as a person, but it really doesn't do much more than that. In fact, most people who read blogs really don't read the whole blog. In fact, if you think about when you read a blog post the last time you did you skim the whole thing or did you read it all the way through? I'm willing to bet that you actually skimmed the blog post versus reading the entire thing from beginning to end. And this really makes it hard to engage. In fact, when I look at my blog and the stats on there, I have somewhere right around an 80 to 90% bounce rate. What that means is 80 to 90% of the people, or basically 1 to 2 out of 10 people, are sticking around and reading, and the rest are just coming to the website and leaving right away. And that's kind of disheartening to take as a blogger because a lot of people just aren't sticking around to read your content. So you're going to have to think of ways to get people to engage more with your blog versus a YouTube channel, which is a lot easier. People stick around, people watch, and the watch times for a YouTube channel where they aren't as for a blog. On top of that, there's going to be a cost associated with running a blog. And that's just not the hosting costs and the domain costs, but other things that you might want inside of your blog to actually do the actual blogging. That might be things like paying for a host or a theme or something like like that you might a special theme. For example, I use avocado right now and I have to pay to have that theme on an annual basis. Or you might have something like a special plugin that you want. So for example, I use Link Whisper on my websites. I have to pay an annual fee to have that special plugin. So those are going to be some extra costs that you're going to have to deal with as well when you have your blog. These are things obviously you don't pay when you have a YouTube channel, but they are extra costs that you're going to have to deal with. On top of that, you're also going to have to learn SEO tactics when it comes to blogging. When I got started for the very first time with my blog, I had to learn how to do blogging and SEO. And for the first year, I didn't really understand it. And after the first year of blogging, I was only bringing in 30 people a day to my blog. And that was kind of disheartening. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, is this even worth it? And then I started to learn about SEO and I built up my business from there and started bringing in a lot of people to my blog and started earning a more passive income with it. But that SEO stuff can take a little bit to learn. It's not like something you just pick up right away. You're going to have to understand how to do keyword research and find and pick your niche and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things to learn. But even if you do learn all of that stuff, one thing you will have to understand with blogging is that it's not an immediate response, meaning your content's not going to rank in Google right away. You're not going to start getting tons of people to your website day one. That takes a lot of time. In fact, you're looking at anywhere between 8 to 12 months before you start to see people actually coming to your website and clicking on links and buying stuff and things like that. It will take a while for that process to happen. All right, now that I've gone through the pros and cons to blogging and YouTube, you might be wondering, what platform do I recommend? And for me personally, I like YouTube actually the most right now. And after doing YouTube and blogging for a period of time now, I've actually found that YouTube is way easier for me, even though you have all the technical setup and being on camera and stuff like that. YouTube just sort of comes to me a lot easier versus writing, say, a 3,000 word blog post, which actually can take a lot of time to do and get perfect. In fact, I feel like being on Google has actually been a lot tougher lately because just trying to rank for terms can be really tough to do. It's very competitive, especially if you're in very competitive terms, say credit cards or online business. Those things can be a lot harder to rank for, whereas on YouTube, it can be a lot easier and the response is a lot more immediate. You put something out there and people are going to be watching your videos right away versus a blog post. They might not see it for a year after you published it. So I personally feel like YouTube is the best way to go. Now, if you're just getting started here and you're learning how to get your first side business going and you're looking for different side hustle ideas, I also recommend checking out the video where I talk about basically the top 7 side hustles of 2022. So check that video out and I will see you in the next video.